I tested 10 problem solving Amazon products under $50. Most products claim to make your life easier, but a lot of them just make more clutter. So I tested 10 problem solving Amazon products, all priced under $50, to find out which ones actually fix an annoying everyday problem and which ones you probably don't need. Some of these were much more useful than I expected. One completely changed how I use the space under my desk, and later I'll show you a product that can automatically water your plants using nothing but sunlight. Let's start with a problem almost everyone has dealt with. The first one is the spin scrubber. Cleaning a bathtub does not sound that difficult until you're bent over, scrubbing the same spot repeatedly, and somehow the grime is still there. This is the YKYI electric spin scrubber, and the idea is pretty simple. Instead of doing all the scrubbing yourself, the motor spins the cleaning brush for you. It comes with different brush heads, so you can use a larger brush on the tub, a flatter brush on tile, and a smaller attachment around corners and fixtures. The long handle is probably the biggest benefit because it lets you clean lower areas without constantly bending or kneeling on the floor. And because the brush is doing most of the movement, you really only have to guide it across the surface. For around $37, this is one of those products that solves a real problem instead of inventing one. Next is the MeasureTech digital tape measure. A normal tape measure works perfectly until you need to measure a long wall by yourself, measure around a curved object, or reach around a piece of furniture without the tape collapsing. This digital tape measure is designed to make those awkward measurements easier. Instead of extending a metal tape, you can roll the device along the surface and it displays the measurement on the screen. That means that you can measure around curved objects, along uneven edges, or across longer distances without fighting with a flimsy piece of metal. This could be useful when measuring furniture, planning where something will fit, working on home projects, or even calculating the size of a room. It also has a traditional measuring function built in, so it's not limited to only using the wheel. What I like most is that it makes measuring by yourself less frustrating, so you don't need someone standing at the opposite end holding the tape in place, and you don't need to keep restarting because the tape bent or retracted. At around $35, it's probably more than most people need for occasional measurements, but if you regularly work on home projects, furniture layouts, crafts, or renovations, this is much more convenient than a basic tape measure. And the next product solves a completely different problem by turning an area most people waste into usable storage. Next is the cam key under bed storage. Closets fill up quickly, dressers only hold so much, and a lot of people have several square feet of completely unused space sitting underneath their bed. These under bed storage containers let you use that space without making your room look more cluttered. You can use them for seasonal clothing, extra bedding, shoes, towels, or anything you want accessible but don't need every day. The structured sides help keep their shape, which makes them easier to load than the soft storage bags that collapse while you're trying to fill them. The clear top also lets you see what's inside without opening every container and digging through it. Once they're filled, they slip underneath the bed and disappear from view. This is not the most exciting product in the video, but it creates one of the biggest transformations. Instead of buying another shelf, cabinet, or dresser, you're using space you already have. For around $35, this makes the most sense for apartments, smaller bedrooms, guest rooms, or anyone constantly running out of closet space. Next up, we have this mason jar vacuum sealer. If you store coffee, nuts, cereal, dried fruit, spices, or other pantry ingredients in mason jars, simply tightening the lid does not remove the air trapped inside. This small device is designed to vacuum seal compatible mason jars without needing a large countertop setup. You place the sealing attachment over the jar lid, start the device, and it removes air from the inside of the jar. Once it finishes, the lid should be pulled tightly against the jar. You can immediately tell that it's sealed because the center of the lid no longer moves, and the lid stays attached without the ring holding it down. The main benefit is convenience. A full-size vacuum sealer can take up a lot of counter or cabinet space, while this is small enough to keep in a drawer. It's especially useful for dry goods, pantry organization, meal preparation, or buying ingredients in larger quantities. You should still follow proper food storage and canning guidelines because vacuum sealing a jar does not make every type of food safe to store at room temperature. But for suitable dry goods, this is a simple way to reduce air exposure and keep everything neatly organized. For around $30, this is one of the more satisfying products to use, and it feels like something people who already use mason jars should reach for regularly. Next is this couch tray. If your couch does not have a side table nearby, you usually have three options. Hold your drink the entire time, set everything on the floor, or balance it on the armrest and hope nobody bumps into it. This couch tray wraps around the arm of the sofa and creates a more stable surface for a drink, phone, remote, snack, or anything else that you want nearby. Because it's flexible, it can adjust to different armrest sizes instead of requiring a perfectly flat surface. It does not replace a full side table, and I would still be careful with an open drink if your couch arm is extremely rounded or soft. But for watching television, working from the couch, or using furniture in a small room, it gives you a useful surface without taking up any floor space. That's what makes it a good problem-solving product. It fixes a small annoyance, but it fixes it in a way that you probably use every day. At around $40, it's a little more expensive than a basic tray, but it could be worth it if you do not have room for a table next to your couch. Next up is this step ladder. At some point, almost everyone has stood on a chair to reach something they probably should not have been reaching for from a chair. This folding step ladder gives you a safer and more stable way to reach high cabinets, closet shelves, or storage areas. It unfolds quickly, provides wider steps than many basic step stools, and gives you something more secure to hold onto while climbing. The real benefit is not that a stepladder is revolutionary. It's having one nearby means you are less likely to improvise with an unstable chair, plastic bin, or piece of furniture. When you're finished, it folds flat enough to store behind a door, against a wall, or inside a closet. At just under $50, this is the most expensive product in the video, but it also solves a practical household problem and can be used for years. This is especially useful for shorter people, homes with tall kitchen cabinets, or anyone who regularly stores things on higher shelves. Next up is this motion sensor light. Some areas are too dark to see clearly, but not important enough to justify hiring someone to install a new light fixture. This is where a motion sensor light like this becomes useful. You could place it inside a closet, pantry, hallway, stairway, cabinet, or other dark area where you want light without searching for a switch. When it detects movement, the light turns on automatically. That means no wiring, no fumbling with your phone flashlight, and no leaving the light running because you forgot to turn it off. The automatic activation is what makes it more useful than a basic battery-powered light. You don't have to touch it every time you enter the space. It's not going to replace the main lighting in a large room, but for a closet or dark corner, it provides enough light to see what you're doing. For around $27, this is a simple upgrade that can make an inconvenient area of your home more functional. And the next product solves the problem of turning leftovers into one giant frozen block. And that would be these Super Cubes freezing trays. Freezing leftovers sounds easy until you need one serving and discover that everything is frozen together inside one ginormous container. Super Cubes are designed to freeze food in separate portions. You can fill each section with soup, broth, sauce, chili, or other freezer-friendly foods. The measurement markings help you create consistent portions, and the lid protects the food while it freezes. Once everything is frozen, you can remove the individual blocks and transfer them into a freezer bag or storage container. Then, instead of thawing an entire batch, you can take out exactly the amount that you need. This can help reduce food waste, organize your freezer, and make a meal preparation much easier. The trays are more expensive than a standard ice cube tray, but the larger portion sizes and sturdy construction make them much more useful for actual meals. At around $40, I think this is best for people who cook in batches, freeze leftovers regularly, or want convenient individual meals ready to heat. Next up is this under-desk storage drawer. A desk can look clean for about 5 minutes. Then the charging cables, pens, memory cards, headphones, remotes, and other small accessories slowly take over the entire surface. This under desk this under desk this under desk drawer adds storage without taking up any additional room on top of the desk. It mounts underneath the desktop, creating a hidden place for the smaller items you want nearby but don't need sitting in front of you. You can use it for pens, chargers, cables, notebooks, controllers, tools, or anything else that normally creates visual clutter. Once the drawer is closed, everything disappears, but is still within reach. This works especially well with minimal desks that do not already need. This works especially well with minimal desks that do not already include built-in storage. You will need to make sure the drawer fits underneath your specific desk and does not interfere with your legs or any support bars. But if the dimensions work, this can make a basic tabletop much more functional. At around $39, it costs more than a simple plastic organizer, but it solves the problem without sacrificing desk space. This was one of the products that created the most noticeable difference. This was one of the products that created the most noticeable improvement in everyday use. Last but not least, we have this solar drip irrigation system. Keeping one plant alive is usually manageable. Keeping several plants watered consistently, especially while traveling or during hot weather, becomes much more difficult. The solar drip irrigation system is designed to pull water from a container and slowly distribute it to multiple plants. The solar panel powers the system, while the tubing directs water from your chosen container to the individual plants. You can position a drip line near each plant and adjust the setup based on how many plants you need to water. The main advantage is consistency. Instead of manually watering every pot, the system can deliver smaller amounts on a schedule. That can be helpful for patios, balconies, small gardens, or keeping plants watered while you're away. This does require more setup than most of the other products in the video. You need a suitable water source, enough sunlight, correctly positioned tubing, and a schedule that matches what your plants actually need. I would also test it for several days before relying on it during a long trip. For around $36, it is one of the most interesting products on the list because it automates a chore without requiring a nearby electrical outlet. After testing all 10 products, the ones I think solve the biggest problems are the spin scrubber, the underbed storage container, and the underdesk drawer. The spin scrubber makes an unpleasant chore easier. The underbed storage uses space that would otherwise be wasted, and the underdesk drawer can completely change how clean and organized that your space feels. The digital tape measure and mason jar sealer are more specialized, but they're extremely useful for the right person. The couch tray and motion sensor light solve smaller inconveniences, but they are also products you could use almost every day. And the solar irrigation system has the most potential to save time, although it requires the most setup. None of these products will completely transform your life, but the best problem-solving products do not need to. They just need to remove one annoying inconvenience and make something that you already do a little bit easier. I'll leave links to all 10 products in the description so you can check the current prices and see which one makes sense for you. Let me know in the comments which product you would actually use and which one you think is completely unnecessary. And if you like honest product tests that help you avoid wasting money, subscribe because I have a lot more products to test.